There's a city perched on the fault lines of history, spirituality, and controversy. A place revered by billions yet claimed by countless rulers across time. Jerusalem is more than just stone walls and ancient streets. It may be the pivotal stage on which the final scenes of human destiny will soon unfold. In hushed circles, people whisper that we're on the verge of seeing age-old predictions come to life. The question is, are these whispers nothing but fables, or are they the early tremors of something unimaginably bigger? For centuries, Jerusalem has stood at the crossroads of empires, the epicenter of holy conflicts and triumphs. Now, many believe we are witnessing a cascade of events that could herald the fulfillment of mystical prophecies, possibly within our own lifetime. What hidden signs are revealing themselves in the city once called the navel of the world? And more urgently, is it already too late to stop what seems to be unfolding? Before we uncover the stunning secrets buried beneath Jerusalem and what they could mean for the end of time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to get our daily Bible teachings and also to support this channel. Jerusalem is a place where the line between legend and reality blurs. Step onto its cobblestone pathways and you're enveloped in a profound sense of history. Empires have risen and fallen here. Generations have poured their hopes, fears, and faith into its foundations. From the Babylonians to the Romans, from Crusaders to modern-day conflicts, every conqueror has believed that controlling Jerusalem means controlling the heartbeat of something far greater. But beneath the storied past, modern complexities simmer like a hidden fault line. Headlines may show political scuffles and boundary disputes, but some watchers say the real drama is happening at a deeper cosmic level. Ever since the establishment of the modern state of Israel, a stirring undercurrent has suggested that ancient promises might be awakening. The city has become a magnet, drawing people from every corner of the globe, each with their own hopes of witnessing a monumental, world-changing event. This convergence is no accident. In the eyes of countless believers, Jerusalem is the crucial link between heaven and earth, the focal point of prophecies that trace back thousands of years. The momentum is building, and the tension feels almost tangible. Yet this is just the surface. Tucked away in old scrolls and theological discussions, there are warnings, hints of catastrophic showdowns and miraculous revelations still on the horizon. Could all of this be more than mere coincidence? But that's only the start of the mystery unfolding here. Generations of scholars, theologians, and everyday believers have combed through ancient manuscripts, fixating on prophecies that mention Jerusalem as ground zero for a future age. One thing stands out. Nearly every major scriptural source warns of a decisive moment when time itself seems to accelerate, pushing humanity toward an anticipated climax. The city at the center of this crescendo? Jerusalem. Ages ago, prophets spoke of the Jewish people being dispersed and then astonishingly returned to their ancestral lands in a single day. It was a promise many thought impossible, until it happened. Even the re-establishment of Israel in 1948 took many by surprise, acting like the first domino in a sequence that's still toppling forward. During the Six-Day War in 1967, the improbable recapture of Jerusalem's Old City reinforced the notion that age-old prophecies were back in motion. But prophecy watchers insist the story doesn't end there. Ancient texts describe a chain of events, global attention focusing on Jerusalem, the city becoming a cup of trembling for all nations, and a series of signs intensifying like birth pangs. Wars and rumors of wars, moral upheaval, and unsettling geological events are among the markers. Each sign can be debated, but the overall pattern is difficult to ignore. In the last few decades alone, global politics have zeroed in on Israel, in ways unimaginable in previous centuries. Some say these triggers are unstoppable, as if we're on a track laid down long ago. Others remain skeptical, chalking it all up to random historical shifts. Yet every time a new controversy erupts, be it a sudden push for peace treaties or an unexpected natural phenomenon, observers can't help but recall warnings penned millennia ago. Which of these warnings will come to pass next, and why do certain experts think the climax might arrive sooner than expected? And if you think that's intriguing, just wait until you hear about the controversies swirling around today's ever-growing migration. One of the most talked about prophecies revolves around the global regathering of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland. Deuteronomy and Ezekiel depict a time when people scattered throughout the nations would feel a mysterious pull to return. Over the last century, this phenomenon has only intensified. Even those who aren't deeply religious have found themselves compelled to come home, as if an invisible magnet is drawing them back. Yet this wave of returns isn't happening in a vacuum. Geopolitical tension shadowed the formation of modern Israel, and it continues to throb beneath the surface. While some arrive with stories of spiritual awakening, others come seeking refuge from hostility in their former countries. Each new arrival fuels debates on everything from land rights to the authenticity of biblical claims. Diplomatic circles buzz with arguments. Is this influx fulfilling divine prophecy, or is it merely a socio-political ripple sparked by conflict? Rumors swirl about secret negotiations, controversial legislation, and strategic alliances forming to either facilitate or obstruct this migration. Critics suggest powerful nations have their own hidden agendas, access to resources, strategic footholds, or even alignment with certain religious groups. Supporters see these alliances as confirmation that forces beyond politics are at work, orchestrating a meticulously foretold destiny. While the world watches closely, a sense of urgency grows among religious leaders. They believe every new wave of arrivals sets the stage for another prophecy, the rebuilding of a sacred structure that has lain in ruins for nearly 2 millennia. The controversies around this next step are explosive, to say the least. But there's an even more charged debate brewing, the race to construct the third temple. At the heart of biblical prophecy stands the temple in Jerusalem. The first and second temples witnessed grandeur and devastation, each destroyed by invading forces centuries ago. For many Jewish communities, rebuilding a third temple is the crowning moment that ushers in a prophetic age described in the books of Daniel and Revelation. What once sounded like a far-off dream is swiftly moving toward reality. Organizations like the Temple Institute have painstakingly prepared ritual objects, from the sacred vessels to the elaborate priestly garments. They've even identified animals believed essential to the temple's ceremonial purification, a detail that has sparked intense debate. It all points to one pivotal question. If the green light were given, could the third temple rise faster than anyone anticipates? Central to this push is the fabled red heifer, a biblical requirement for purification that sets the stage for temple worship. Sourcing a flawless red heifer has been a quest spanning millennia, thwarted repeatedly by minor blemishes or genetic anomalies. Yet in recent times, headlines have erupted about red heifers arriving in Israel from abroad. Perfect specimens, with no disqualifying marks. If even one remains unblemished into adulthood, it could be used in a ceremony many see as the final obstacle to rebuilding. But the controversies don't stop there. The Temple Mount is also home to the Dome of the Rock, one of Islam's holiest sites. Any construction plans would undoubtedly ignite religious and political firestorms. Negotiations to secure building rights could provoke immediate backlash from nations across the globe. Yet quietly, behind the scenes, there are rumors of discreet discussions with world leaders, offering potential peace deals that might pave the way for a new temple. Opposition is fierce. Some protest that constructing this temple risks triggering an explosive regional conflict. Others view it as the necessary next chapter in a long prophesied saga. Whichever side one chooses, a critical threshold is being approached. And it ties directly into who holds power over Jerusalem's future. Yet a far larger storm is gathering, the global tug-of-war for the fate of Jerusalem itself. Jerusalem isn't just a local concern, it's a global flashpoint. In the halls of the United Nations, diplomatic summits, and secret backchannels, the question of dividing the city is on almost every agenda. Politicians debate a two-state solution, partition lines, and international oversight, with some insisting that world peace hinges on the proper handling of Jerusalem. But ancient prophecies ring a loud warning. Any attempt to carve up or internationalize Jerusalem invites dire consequences. Texts like Zechariah 12:3 depict a scenario where nations gather against this city and suffer catastrophic repercussions. Many watchers point to current events, claiming these international discussions could fulfill those very words. Behind closed doors, powerful coalitions are shaping up, some official, others purely speculative. Whispers emerge about certain countries forging unexpected alliances, each vying for influence over Jerusalem's final status. Is the city's future being quietly decided by a select few diplomats and negotiators? And how long before their deals spill out onto the world stage, potentially igniting the final conflict that many fear? Despite all these high-level machinations, one truth remains: Jerusalem is not just another city. Throughout history, every empire that tried to subdue it ultimately fell away, leaving only traces of past glory. Modern powers may believe they have control, but biblical texts suggest they're merely part of a bigger picture, one that ends with a force far beyond political might. Amid these global tensions, there's a rumbling beneath the surface, literally, on the very mount that prophecy says will split at the end of days. If we step just outside the old city walls, we find the Mount of Olives, a place steeped in symbolism. According to prophecies in Zechariah, this mountain will split dramatically when a messianic figure's feet touch the ground. It sounds extreme, until you learn that geologists have indeed identified a fault line beneath the Mount of Olives. If a significant quake occurred, that entire ridge could crack wide open. In recent years, scientists monitoring the region have noted unusual seismic patterns, nothing apocalyptic yet, but intriguing enough to raise eyebrows. Could these tremors be an early hint of future upheavals? Or are they merely the natural shifting of the earth, entirely unrelated to ancient writings? Believers see these quakes as subtle reminders that prophecy can intersect with the physical world at any moment. It's not just religious fervor fueling the conversation either. Seismologists warn that the region's tectonic makeup places it at risk for a major quake within our lifetime. With every small tremor, the sense of inevitability grows. The question becomes, if the world were to witness a dramatic seismic event on the Mount of Olives, would that spark recognition, or would people still write it off as mere coincidence? That's the paradox of prophecy. Until the moment something dramatic occurs, skeptics remain unconvinced. But if it does happen, it may already be too late to reverse course. Yet seismic shifts aren't the only signs. From wars to moral upheaval, broader patterns suggest a collision course with something monumental. Across the globe, watchers are tracking multiple fronts, each echoing warnings from Matthew 24 and the Book of Revelation. Natural disasters have surged in frequency and intensity. Political alliances form and dissolve with dizzying speed, often concentrating power into fewer and fewer hands. Moral and ethical lines once deemed unshakable are being challenged daily, fueling a sense that society is hurtling toward a breakdown, or a breakthrough, depending on one's perspective. Even beyond the Middle East, we see rampant speculation about a looming world reset, with powerful entities allegedly orchestrating global events from behind the scenes. Critics label such talk as conspiratorial nonsense, but the swirl of rumors refuses to die. Everywhere you look, it seems the drumbeat of prophecy is growing louder. Some believe technology plays a surprising role in these end-time scenarios. Communication networks and digital currencies could set the stage for a unified global system, described long ago as a sign of the final age. Social media saturates us with real-time news of disasters, wars, and controversies, creating an almost constant sense of crisis. Is this the knowledge shall increase moment predicted in the book of Daniel? Debate rages. Are we truly living in the times that prophets dreamed and warned about? Or is it a self-fulfilling prophecy, fueled by overexposure to dramatic headlines? Regardless of where you stand, one fact is undeniable. Jerusalem remains at the center, drawing constant attention for reasons nobody seems able to fully explain. It's as if the city's spiritual magnetism has gone global, pulling every nation into an outcome predetermined by an ancient script. Still, many insist the decisive trigger will be the final push to build the third temple, an act that could ignite the ultimate showdown. Prophesied scenarios converge on a cataclysmic confrontation that centers on Jerusalem. The dividing lines drawn in the Old Testament and Revelation speak of a final war, where nations unite against the city, only to encounter a power they never anticipated. Zechariah 14:2 portrays a scene of all nations fighting over Jerusalem, culminating in an intervention beyond human comprehension. In parallel, there's talk of an abomination that will take place in a newly built temple, a sign so pivotal that Jesus himself allegedly warned of it. The moment sacrifices resume, a certain world leader will, according to Daniel's prophecies, halt them midway through a covenant period. That act could unleash what many refer to as the Great Tribulation, an era of turmoil so devastating that, if left unchecked, none would survive. Skeptics roll their eyes, claiming we've heard these doomsday predictions before, yet the pace of modern events suggests we're approaching a juncture unprecedented in human history. The re-establishment of Israel in a day, the unstoppable return of the diaspora, the readiness of temple artifacts, the intensifying political focus on Jerusalem, all of it forms a puzzle that seems dangerously close to completion. But the single most electrifying prospect is the return of a messianic figure, Jesus, according to Christian theology, whose feet are foretold to land on the Mount of Olives, triggering a literal transformation of the land. Scientists confirm fault lines exist there, suggesting any large quake could split the terrain. Is this just a quirky geological fact, or the stage set for the fulfillment of a prophecy that's waited millennia to unfold? It's all converging. The question isn't just whether it will happen, but how soon, and whether we're prepared for what might come next. If you stand on the walls of Jerusalem today, the city feels both timeless and strangely urgent. Prophecies spoken thousands of years ago are colliding with modern realities in ways that baffle even the skeptics. Wars loom, alliances shift, and the ground beneath our feet shows signs of restless change. Skeptics can label it chance or circumstance, but countless believers see the unshakable hand of destiny at work. Yet this isn't merely about politics or religion. It's about the fundamental questions of existence. What happens if the final piece of prophecy slots into place in our lifetime? Will the world recognize the moment? Or will denial and distraction veil the truth until the very end? One thing is certain. Jerusalem remains the epicenter of a grand narrative that's rapidly unfolding. Whether these events spark a renewed search for meaning, a scramble for political control, or a quiet reflection on the ancient words echoing through centuries, the outcome matters to every single one of us. For if these prophecies hold any weight at all, the consequences will be global, touching every life in ways we can barely imagine. So as the streets of Jerusalem echo with footsteps of the faithful, and as watchful eyes track every tremor beneath the Mount of Olives, a lingering question remains. Is the final act of this epic drama about to commence? Or have we already stepped onto a path that cannot be reversed? Whichever side of belief you stand on, one truth resonates. Time is relentless, marching forward with or without our permission. And the answers we seek might arrive sooner than any of us dare to think.